welcome to the Thinking Stack.
Great to be here.
So picture this. You're standing in a burning house, smoke everywhere, heat's rising. It's intense.
Okay, yeah.
And then one voice just cuts through all that chaos saying, look, see the fire. You are the fire. Forget this illusion. It can hurt you.
Oh, that's got to be Krishnamurti, right? Uncompromising.
Exactly. But then there's another voice, much calmer, kind of reaching out a hand saying, breathe. Just breathe with me. Feel the ground. We can walk out mindfully, step by step.
And that's Thich Nhat Hanh. Gentle, but, yeah, resolute.
Right. Two voices, two paths, both claiming some kind of truth. But the house is still burning. Which way do you actually go?
That's really the core question we're diving into today, isn't it? It's less a smackdown, more, well, you called it a philosophical cage fight in a burning house.
Yeah, something like that. And we're going to use our integrated thinking stack, the ITS, to unpack it.
7 layers, right?
Yeah.
From like raw truth all the way down to actual execution. It's a good way to peel back the layers on this huge question.
Definitely. So I guess I should say I'm leaning towards Krishnamurti today. Let's call me Chris sympathizer. Grounded, maybe a bit brutally wise.
And I'll be championing Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm Natnik. Aiming for that authentic humanity, clarity, maybe a touch of humor.
Excellent. And we're not trying to find who's right, because honestly, that's probably just another illusion Krishnamurti would point out.
Exactly. It's about what resonates, what feels like it could actually help you, the listener, navigate, well, the flames, inside and out.
Okay, let's fire up layer 1 then. Cognitive cleanse. The big question here is, what's actually true, not what we assume, wish, or perform?
Crucial starting point. So where does Thich Nhat Hanh begin with this mental clutter, this cognitive cleanse?
Well, with Han, it feels like it starts gently, doesn't it? He really got how fragile our nervous systems can be.
Yeah, he totally did. He saw how easily we get swept away by thoughts, emotions, the whole storm.
So his way in is through mindful presence, anchoring yourself right here, right now. He said, when we are mindful, deeply in touch with the present moment, our understanding of what is going on deepens, and we begin to be filled with acceptance, joy, peace, and love.
It's beautiful. And the breath is key, right? Like his quote, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Such a simple, powerful image.
It really is a soft place to land. So with that gentleness in mind, how does Krishnamurti tackle this first layer? It's different.
Oh, yeah. Less gentle breeze, more hurricane, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He hits you right away with, truth is a pathless land. You cannot approach it through any organization, creed, or dogma.
Boom. Yep. Just like that. No systems, no beliefs allowed. They're just more illusion.
Exactly. He felt that to grasp the immeasurable, the mind needs to be extraordinarily quiet still. He even thought itself as just mechanical, repetitive, old news, basically, born from dead memory.
Wow. So while Han gives you this anchor in the breath,
Krishnamurti's like, cut the rope. Forget the anchor. See that there's no separate you to anchor. It's radical.
Cognitive shock therapy versus cognitive acupuncture. That analogy really works.
But doesn't that shock therapy risk just setting people adrift if you take away all the usual handholds?
It totally could feel that way, especially if you're used to relying on those maps and structures he dismisses. But Han's gentleness isn't about ignoring reality's sharp edges, you know?
Right. It's about how you meet them.
Exactly. Meeting them with compassion. For yourself, for the world. He saw that it's usually our perception that's fractured, not the world itself. Remember the wave in the ocean?
Yeah. Enlightenment is when the wave realizes it is the ocean.
Beautiful, right? Krishnamurti might yell, you're not the wave. Stop thinking you are. But both are pointing towards that interconnectedness just. Han gives you a way to feel it from where you are.
So maybe the synthesis for layer 1 is Krishnamurti demands you question everything you believe,
while Han invites you to gently touch everything you perceive. Interesting contrast.
Okay, let's move up. Layer 2, moral intelligence. The question now becomes, what's the right thing to do here now for everyone affected?
Big one. How does Krishnamurti tackle this, given his rejection of systems?
Well, he's pretty blunt about it. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. That quote just hits hard.
Oof. Yeah, it does. So no external rules, no commandments.
None. He completely rejects them. For him, real ethical action, true integrity, it has to bubble up from what he called choiceless awareness of our daily existence. Pure seeing, moment by moment.
Choiceless awareness. So you just know what's right. without thinking about rules.
That seems to be the idea. Pay attention to that space between thoughts. That's where the clarity is, apparently. So how does Han guide us morally without those kinds of rigid rules Krishnamurti hated?
Han's compass is definitely rooted in compassion. That interconnectedness we talked about, it extends right into our ethics.
Makes sense.
He famously said, compassion is a verb. It's not just a feeling you have, it's something you do. An active engagement with suffering.
Okay, so less abstract, more practical.
Very practical. He gave us the 5 mindfulness trainings. These are concrete ethical guidelines, nonviolence, mindful consumption, understanding how we're all linked. They offer a real path for ethical living.
Like his own life,
Right.
Refusing to take sides in Vietnam.
Exactly. A living example. So Krishnamurti points you inward to that pure awareness. Han offers a framework for ethical action within relationships, within the world.
But isn't that framework, those trainings, exactly the kind of potential cage Krishnamurti warned about? Couldn't they become just another set of rules?
That's the risk Krishnamurti would absolutely point out. Any structure can become a prison for the mind, right?
Yeah. He believed to understand what is right action, one must be free of all fear. He trusted that raw awareness, that seeing without judgment, way more than any ethical system.
No fear, just see clearly and the right action follows.
That's the trust. It puts all the responsibility squarely on the individual. Look deep enough, burn away the fear, the greed, the self-interest, and you'll know.
It's a radical call for individual responsibility. Right. But is that always enough when you're facing huge systemic problems?
Yeah.
Can one person's inner compass navigate, say, collective injustice effectively?
That's a fair question.
And that's where Han really brings in the community aspect. He knew our ethical lives aren't lived in a vacuum. He deliberately built Sanghas communities.
Places to practice together?
Exactly. To practice ethical awareness collectively, hold each other gently accountable. The 5 trainings aren't rigid laws either. They're living guidelines, meant to be reflected on, adapted as your understanding grows.
So they evolve, they're not set in stone.
Right. They emphasize how your actions ripple out, affect everyone, the whole planet. So you have Krishnamurti's fire of awareness burning away the bad stuff inside.
Versus Han giving you the clay of practice in a community kiln to shape compassionate action.
Yeah, fire versus clay. I like that. For navigating the real messy world, that relational communal piece feels pretty vital, doesn't it?
It does offer a different kind of support. Okay, let's push on. Layer 3, systemic foresight, looking ahead. What happens next and to whom? How did they see the future unfolding?
Both seem pretty sober about where things were headed, actually.
Yeah, Krishnamurti had a, pretty grim view. He saw culture, nationalism, education, religion, all heading for collapse. Any system for him was just a potential idol, doomed to crumble.
And his solution?
Total individual awareness. That's it. The only way out was through individual transformation, not fixing the system.
So what was Han's foresight? Similar gloom.
He also saw the potential for collapse, definitely, especially ecologically. He warned pretty clearly, if we continue to live as we have been, destroying our soil, air, and water, there is no doubt that our civilization will collapse. Start.
Right. But he didn't just stop at the warning, did he?
No, and this is a key difference. He actively designed for resilience. Plum Village, the Dharma School, supporting nonviolent activists. These were all seeds planted for a different kind of future.
Building something after the potential collapse. Or maybe to prevent it. Both, maybe. His core teaching of inner being, that deep interconnectedness, that's the shift in perspective needed to tackle systemic problems. So Kay warns about the flawed systems.
And Han starts building alternatives. Got it. But wouldn't Krishnamurti just see that as futile, like you said, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic?
He probably would. He said things like, you cannot rely on the structure of society to bring about order.
Because the mind trying to build the new system is still disordered itself.
Exactly. The problem is the builder, not just the building plans. True order, true change, had to come from that deep individual transformation first. Inside out.
It's consistent with his whole view, but, okay, when the storm actually hits, when society is breaking down, does individual enlightenment alone give you, like, practical tools, shelter, community?
And that's where Han's practical foresight feels so relevant today. He was essentially asking, what can we build now that helps us survive later?
Like what specifically?
Things like slow food movements, conscious consumption, nonviolent communication, community-led decisions, practical skills for resilient communities. He even said, community is the next Buddha.
Wow, that's powerful. Shifting the locus of awakening.
Right. It highlights that collective wisdom, that interconnected strength is crucial for whatever's coming. So you've got Krishnamurti's existential X-ray showing the cracks in everything.
And Han is like the practical architect, already laying foundations in a broken world.
Yeah, trying to build something workable amidst the rubble.
Let's bring it down to the personal level. Layer 4, embodied insight. The question, what am I wired for, and how does that distort me? How did they approach our inner wiring, especially things like fear?
Krishnamurti really dug into fear, didn't he? He saw its root in what he called psychological time.
Right, that me that's always caught up in hoping, resisting, remembering, living in the past or future, never just here.
Exactly. The root of fear is time. Psychological time. His meditation wasn't about blissing out. It was about staring right at your internal state, moment to moment, without flinching.
No escape, just pure observation to dismantle that time-bound self that creates the fear.
Well,
Sounds intense, like staring into the abyss without blinking.
it does sound intense. And Thich Nhat Hanh, he also addressed fear's roots, but his approach, well, it feels more compassionate, maybe more immediately accessible for many people.
How so?
He really emphasized conscious breathing as that anchor again, or a refuge from the anxieties bouncing between past and future. He taught us to touch your anger with the hand of mindfulness.
Touch it, not crush it or run from it.
Yeah, a gentle acknowledgement rather than suppression or freaking out.
Yeah.
And his practices, walking meditation, mindful eating, they bring you right back into your body.
Grounding you.
Totally.
Ooh.
Creating a sense of safety, helping regulate that often frazzled nervous system when fear kicks in. It feels like a more gradual path to understanding your wiring without getting totally overwhelmed.
Whereas Krishnamurti's path to freedom from fear was just radical seeing, no analysis, no stories.
Right, he said, you cannot be free of fear by analysis. You can be free of fear only when you see the fact without the word, the description, the explanation.
Just the raw fact, the sensation itself.
Yeah.
Direct, which could be incredibly liberating for some people.
Absolutely. A sudden shattering of the illusion. But, like you said, for people carrying deep trauma or with really sensitive systems, maybe Han's gentler path, that step-by-step regulation, is a more viable way in.
Seems likely. It offers practical tools for inner safety, like that simple instruction. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile.
Simple, but profound. It brings you back. He encouraged feeling your feet on the earth, the breath, tangible anchors. It's compassionate self-awareness, building resilience from the inside, allowing you to meet fear with more understanding and less reactivity.
Okay, so that brings us naturally to layer 5, human-centered design. The question, how do real people behave and how must we design around that? This feels like a major point of difference.
Huge difference. Krishnamurti, well, he didn't seem very interested in designing around human limitations, did he?
Not at all. It felt like his attitude was, see the illusion or burn. Confront it directly. No softening the blow, no compromises, very sink or swim.
Exactly. Whereas Thich Nhat Hanh, you could almost call him a master of spiritual UX user experience.
Spiritual UX designer. I like it.
He really focused on making profound wisdom accessible, repeatable, something you could actually weave into your daily life.
How did he do that?
He created things like gathas, those short mindfulness poems for everyday activities like washing dishes or answering the phone. And the sanghas, the communities, were crucial for practicing together.
So he anticipated the difficulties people would have.
Completely. He anticipated the resistance, the forgetting, the overwhelm, and built these gentle, repeatable bridges to help people cross those gaps. Deeply human-centered way to share wisdom.
And Krishnamurti's logic, presumably, was that designing for human behavior risks just coddling our limitations, validating them.
Well, yeah, maybe keeping us stuck in incremental change instead of the radical transformation he was pointing to. He taught from the summit, right? Showed the amazing view, but didn't necessarily build stairs for everyone to climb up.
Because the stairs themselves could become another attachment, another illusion.
Precisely. His insights were undeniably powerful, world-changing for some, but for many, actually applying them consistently. That could be tough without more structure. His schools fostered brilliant thinking, sure, but maybe not as many community builders.
So does that lack of practical design become a hurdle if the goal is, like, widespread awakening?
I think Hannah would say yes. He honored the truth by honoring the human journey. Meeting people where they are with kindness and practical tools is an act of truth for him.
Not diluting it, but making it reachable.
Exactly. Like the bell of mindfulness in Plum Village. Just a simple sound inviting everyone to pause, breathe, with brilliant human-centered design woven into life.
A gentle nudge back to presence.
Yeah. And in a world drowning in overwhelm and distraction, offering those kinds of accessible lifelines Feels pretty essential, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, almost there. Layer 6. Risk and resilience. Stark question. What if we're wrong or too late? What's the fallback plan?
For Krishnamurti, the answer seems to be there is no fallback plan. Or rather, the only plan is the present moment.
Right. See now, die to illusion now. That's your only safety. No plan B. It's incredibly high stakes. All or nothing.
Very much so. Thich Nhat Hanh, though, while always emphasizing the present, absolutely recognized the fragility of things, us, our societies, the planet.
So he thought about what if.
He actively cultivated resilience.
Yeah.
Psychological resilience, community resilience, even ecological resilience within Plum Village and the wider network. He knew storms happen.
And he tried to build systems that could actually weather them.
Yes. Systems and practices. Think about his teachings on mindful communication, conflict resolution. These are practical tools for navigating the inevitable friction, personally and collectively. Doesn't that focus on tangible resilience feel more grounded, maybe, when facing huge uncertainties?
It definitely offers something more concrete. Krishnamurti's views seem to be that even making a fallback plan comes from fear, right? Clinging to time, trying to control things.
Which is itself part of the illusion he wants us to see through.
Exactly. True safety, true resilience, for him only comes from that clear seeing, that awareness that transcends the whole need for safety nets.
A powerful, maybe even ultimate perspective, but when the earthquake hits or the floodwaters rise, does purely internal resilience always provide the actual boat or the shelter you might need?
Good point. The practicalities matter.
And Hani resilience isn't just an inside job. It's also about that web of support, the community, the inner being. He lived through war, exile. He wasn't just theorizing. He was building resilience because he knew firsthand what fragility felt like.
That lived experience makes a difference.
Hugely. Like he said, in the Garden of Plum Village, even when a storm comes, we can find peace. It points to needing both inner calm and those supportive structures.
Okay, final layer. Layer 7. Execution. The bottom line. What do we actually do and how do we adapt in reality?
This is where the paths really diverge visibly. Krishnamurti famously refused to offer specific methods or tools.
He wanted to be a mirror, not a map maker. Any path, any technique could become another prism. He basically burned the blueprints.
Right, whereas Thich Nhat Hanh was, you could say, constantly shipping tools.
Shipping, like in tech.
Yeah. He was actively developing and sharing rituals, retreat formats, daily mindfulness exercises, building that global network of sanghas. Plum Village itself, the order of inner being, the 5 trainings, tangible outputs.
Things people could actually use.
And he iterated. He refined these things over decades. He understood that getting wisdom into action requires practice, structure, adaptation to real life. He wasn't just talking, he was building.
While Krishnamurti's deep concern was always that the method kills the living truth, that it becomes rigid dogma.
A valid concern, for sure. He resisted hierarchies, fixed curricula, even in his schools, to keep that aliveness. But the flip side, perhaps, was limiting the practical reach for many. Clarity without a path.
And Han?
Han understood that most of us, well, we kind of need a map, at least at first. Maybe some walking sticks for the journey. His teachings, the communities, they provide that guidance and support.
Like his quote about peace being the path.
There is no path to peace. Peace is the path. But we must pave it brick by brick, breath by breath. He gave both the destination and the paving stones.
Okay, so wrapping this whole deep dive up,
All right.
we come back to that burning house. Krishnamurti's sharp sword slashing through illusion versus Han's steady loom weaving compassion and community.
Krishnamurti gives you that potentially shattering awakening, a radical clear-out. Han offers the architecture after the awakening, maybe? The tools, the community to rebuild, to live differently.
So the final question, really, for you listening is, in this world, feeling so disconnected, so angry, so overwhelming sometimes, what feels more vital right now? That solitary, piercing brilliance.
Or that collective resilience, that capacity for compassionate action woven together.
It's tough. Krishnamurti's truth has this undeniable, fierce power for individual liberation. You can't ignore it.
You really can. But then you see the tangible impact of Han's work. The communities, the practices, the ripple effect of compassion and resilience in countless lives. And that's undeniable too.
Maybe you need both. The clarity to really see the fire.
And the gentle hand, the community, the practice to help you walk out of it together.
This has been The Thinking Stack. Stay sharp.
Stay kind.
And maybe, just maybe, stay breathing.